Hey everyone, we are back with the iPod Nano from hell. If you remember in the previous video, what we did is we replaced the battery in this one, only to find out that the screen itself was damaged. Now, because this one wouldn't turn on before we replaced the battery, we had no way of knowing whether or not that screen was good. As a result, what I'm going to do for this customer is I'm going to test out a new screen and likely replace it for them just in the unlikely event that something was damaged during that repair. So we're going to pop this one open, and if you recall, this one did have the broken frame on the side, so we're going to be a little bit careful on that right side when we pop it open, following along the channel with that framing. Alright, so we've got this open, and we are going to go right back into what we did before, which is removing a whole lot of screws. As I mentioned before, Apple does not keep a standard size screw throughout any of these, so some of them are going to be different than others as far as their length. They are all Phillips heads. They're all Phillips heads, and they're all the same head size. However, they are not the same thread count. Some of these are going to be longer, and some of these are actually going to be slightly smaller. This one is holding on quite a bit. Let's pry that out of there. And again, this is the boring part of the video, where I'm just removing screws. As you can see, I still have not learned my lesson. I'm not using my magnetic mat to hold these screws in place. So we're just dropping out these Phillips heads. Now, if you'll remember in my previous video, I did have a little bit of issue getting this one out. Reason being, turns out, is because the metal shield, some of the corners of it are bent slightly, and that's holding it in its place. Now that I know that, I'm not going to be too nice. We're just going to snap it off. Now, I'm going to take a look here. This is the LCD connection. Right here. And I'm not seeing any immediate rips in it or tears. This right here looks to be a little bit of paint scuffing off of the flex, a little bit of the shielding coming off. No actual tears that I can see. But either way, we do know the result of how it looks with all those square blocks across it. That is the indicator of a damaged LCD, usually on the flex connection too. It just means that part of it is not receiving signal, so there would be a tear, rip, something like that. Alright, let's continue on. We gotta take the board out slightly. It's not all the way, just enough to actually pry it up and get to the back side of it. And keep my board screws separated. Keep those over there so I know where they're going. Let's see. Yep, we can tug. Can almost pull that board out. You know what? Just for the heck of it, and for ease of use on my part, I might just take that battery out. Might just drop that battery out. Even though it looks so good. It looks fantastic. But see, that's not the only thing that's actually holding this in. There's a little bit more. You know what, let's disconnect this screen, get it off of here. The flex connections, you can't see them, they're actually underneath this. They are little Lego style connectors. So I'm going to pull that out. Let's take a look at our flex connection. What have we found here? Well, we have found a tiny, adorable, look at it, it's so cute. It's like a little koala bear or something. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. Still doesn't explain why it's not working. I am not seeing any reason that this thing should stop. Unless one of the shielding on one of those flexes is contacting metal and causing it to short out, but the exposed areas are not covered by the shield, so it's not really going to make a huge difference. All right, let's grab the new screen. Let's hook that up, and we'll see what happens. 1 second so I can grab that. All right, we got our new screen. It too has the adorable little koala bear on it, or whatever the heck that is. I don't know, that might be a mouse. It just says hi. Hi. All right, let's test it out. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so I can get a little bit more play on this. Should probably pop that camera up. Is there just one that holds it in, I think? No, it's held in by nothing else. Cool. Is it not even held in? It's not even held in by that screw. I took that out for no reason. That holds the frame of the camera in, but not the actual camera itself. Weird. Alright, so now you can see what I'm working with. I've lost the camera. The camera is gone. The camera is gone, ladies and gentlemen. The camera has actually fallen inside. Out of the way. Alright, what is holding this guy on? Looks like the battery's... You know what? I said it before. I want to take the battery out. I'm taking the battery out. 1 second, I'm going to bring you guys over here to the soldering station so you can see me desolder the battery. I just need to desolder the connector so I can lift the board up. Be right back. Alright, welcome back to the hot station. Let's go ahead and peel off what little shielding is left on this thing. Turn on the soldering iron, get that thing going. Gonna grab our soldering braid, wick, whatever you want to call it. My coworker actually refers to these as melted penny rope because it's made out of copper. I think that's kind of adorable. So we're going to take our melted penny rope, soldering tip here, and I'm just going to soak up those solder joints. They're not playing nice. We're going to add a little bit of flux to that. My apologies, I am still technically at work, so I had to answer the phone real quick. But back to business. Let's find out where they hid the flux. Here it is. Just a little bit does the trick. Get that cleaned off, and let's see if it's actually still connected at all. Yep, it's still holding on. How about that? Look at this advanced holding technique right now. I don't think I got all that solder up. It's still holding on very, very tight. Man, oh man, that thing is holding on super, super tight. Ladies and gentlemen, we may not be taking this thing out after all. This thing is in there and I don't really want to damage that connector at all. Honestly, at this point, I'm not sure what's holding it on there. The solder is completely melted and gone. I could do a hot air rework, but I don't really feel like it. Not this close to the rest of it. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. That wasn't so hard, was it? Come on, little guy. There he goes. Now he let go. Thank you. Thank you, terrible little thing. Let's make sure our pads are still on there. Remember, I'm doing this strictly so I can get to the board easier, which is kind of a terrible design, to be honest. All right, got our battery unsoldered. Let's go back to the regular desk and we will get to the back side of this board. Alright, we're back over at the regular work desk. Now, one thing is still holding this thing on from behind, and it is this terrible little antenna connector. So I am just going to unclip that one. Now our board should be able to fold mostly over to reveal the connections on the backside. I'm even going to unplug this other little flex that's holding it in because I really just want to get to the back of this board. Now, like I said before, you don't have to take it out this far. You can totally plug it in from this weird angle right here where you can kind of get it under and clip it in using some tweezers. But honestly, that's kind of a pain, and I want to see what's going on with that board if it's showing lines and stuff. All right, let's see if we got anything weird. No. That all looks nice and clean to me. Looking pretty good. All right. Pull up a chair here and we will get this new screen connected, tested, and see what it does. I'm going to take the home button out of the old one, just pushing through from the other side. I'm going to stick it on the new one just in case. Nice. All right, let's go to the back side of our board here. Oh man, okay, so essentially it's gonna look a little bit like this. You know, I didn't really think about how difficult this would be to do it with a camera in front of me, but that's where we're at right now, guys. That's where we're at. One. Isn't this fun? Don't you want to go home and fix your iPod Touch right now? Don't you want to go replace just about anything on it? we're snapped in. Let's reconnect that rear-facing camera on an iPod. Beautiful. Okie dokie. So now we've got all that connected. This has been a convoluted process. And this is why I called this thing the iPod Touch from hell. Because honestly, most iPod Touches are exactly this bad. The iPod Touch is just like a rebuilt iPhone 4 or some kind of garbage similar to that. Alright, let's get our board screws back in so that it's not going to go flying out. I'll also point out on the iPod Touch that almost nothing holds your screen in other than a little bit of adhesive and a hope and a prayer. You'll notice that there's no pentalobe at the bottom, no screws like you'd normally find on an iPhone or anything like that. Alright, board's put back in, everything has been reconnected. Now we need to reconnect that battery. So we're gonna go back over to the hot station and we're gonna solder that battery back into this iPod Touch. Be right back. Now, will we be left with a happy iPod Touch after we're done with this? I certainly hope so, because I really want to be done with this. I want to move on to other repairs that are not this iPod Touch. Gotta be honest with you on this one, I'm not the biggest fan. But I'm gonna clean off that battery connector real quick. It's got a bunch of flux and grease and goop on it. There we go. We're gonna make that pretty again. Make it a happy little connector. What is that? What is this hiding under? That, pardon the poor video quality at this point, I'm about to zoom way in. That is a tiny Apple sticker. That is a tiny little Apple sticker that this company, Mobile Defenders, has painted over to avoid any kind of copyright infringement. Interesting. Always interesting when you find these things where they basically desoldered this piece itself from the original battery and moved it over to an aftermarket battery. Or, and here's another possibility, they just rewrapped this battery. Look at that. Beautiful alcohol. Alright, let's solder this thing back on. I apologize, the top of it still looks pretty gnarly. Probably should clean that up. Alright. A lot less gnarly now. Let's line up our connections. There. Is that it? Am I in the home stretch? I'm in the home stretch, guys. I'm in the home stretch. We're gonna grab our soldering iron. We're gonna throw a little bit of flux onto this thing right here. Am I still lined up? Yes. Alright, we've got a little bit of flux here. Throw that on the top. Got a nice line of solder. Our soldering iron has seen cleaner days. My oh my. 1, 2, 3 solder points. And I'm just going to have confidence that those are connected. Let's go ahead and clean it off and make sure. Cool. Are we hooked? We're not hooked on anything. What the fuck? What the fuck? Alright, that's fine. That's fine. We're gonna play a game. That's fine by me. Alright. Now I know it's lined up right here. I know darn well it's lined up right there. How about now? You stuck down? He is. He's indeed stuck down. Let's touch up those points a little bit. Don't mind the sizzling, that's just the alcohol from cleaning it beforehand. Just want to make sure those are all making solid contact. Okay, we got that hooked on. We know that this battery is dead because it's been boot looping since yesterday. Let's go plug it into a charger and see what we've got. Alright guys, we have our USB amp meter hooked up right here. You can see that what it is basically is telling you how much voltage is going into this device. The amperage right there is going to read out how many amps are going into the device, and then you've got some various informational stats like how many milliamp hours this device has charged and whatnot. So we're going to plug in. We are getting 0.72. We are getting a booting screen, and we don't have any LCD lines. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have successfully repaired the iPod Touch from hell. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up, call the customer back, and hope that it stops boot looping right now. We're not done with this iPod, are we? We're not even close to being done with this iPod. Back to the drawing board. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you learned a little bit about iPod Touches and how to disassemble them and possibly replace your screen, though I don't recommend that to anybody with an iPod Touch, especially considering the cost of screen replacement is relatively close to buying a brand new one. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I will see you in the next one.